Hey everybody, many of my students now study in the campuses, in the universities, doing BS English, most of them. And one of them asked me a question, sir, why should we study literature? What can be the possible best answer to the question? Well, I'm not a very knowledgeable person, but still, to my understanding, here are some reasons we should study literature. And here are the benefits of studying literature. First of all, it gives you the best kind of knowledge. Well, there are kinds of knowledge. I call this knowledge the best one because, see, literature is a mirror of society. So when you study literature, you study society, you study social system, you study human beings. And what else do you need when you can study human beings? Their minds, how they work and how they react and how their emotional needs work and how they feel to certain things and how do they change their behaviors and etc etc. So first of all, this is power. This is the best powerful knowledge you can have. Well, the second reason to study literature, I would say, can be communication. Unlike many other branches and kinds of knowledge, literature enhances and improves your communication skill. It improves your confidence as well. And communication skill is something I would say the most beautiful, unique characteristic of human being. If you can communicate good, well, there are people who had nothing material, but today the world remembers them. You can have examples in the society just because they could speak better. So the second reason to study literature is because this empowers you to have a better communication. And a better communication in the modern world, I mean, you can't deny the importance of this. The world has become a global village. So there are hundreds of countries and cities and thousands and millions of people. So this is English language. It enhances you. It enables you to communicate with the whole world. Okay, so you sit in front of a computer and you can talk to anybody, anyone in the world. So the second reason to study particularly English literature is to have a better communication so that you can be connected to the modern world. Number three, reading literature enriches your imagination. It fuels your imagination, right? So there are many countries and we can't visit them all. There are millions and millions of people, but we can't meet them all. There are other stuff we cannot even think of, achieving or getting. But when you read a book, for example, you can't meet a person, you can't meet Dalai Lama, but you can read his book. It's like meeting him, right? So I would say that reading literature enhances your imagination. There are places you can't visit, but when you read a book, you can imagine them. When you watch a movie, well, in a movie, you see what a director wants you to see, what he shows you. But when you're reading a book, you imagine the stuff according to your taste, the way you want it. So I would say you should prefer reading a book than watching a movie based on that book, just because of the difference I'm just explaining. When you're reading a book, you can imagine the way you want it, but when you're watching a movie, you are able to see only whatever is being shown to you, right? So literature reading enhances your imagination. You imagine things, and when you imagine things, you pursue them, and when you pursue them, sometimes you get them, right? And one more reason is literature keeps your brain active and healthy. You can simply differentiate the people who read and the people who don't read. I'm not talking about the material stuff. Well, if you keep reading and you don't do any work, you won't be having money or maybe a car or maybe a big bungalow or material stuff. But there can be a mental difference between you and the person. इसके बारे में तो हम बात ही नहीं करते हैं because इसको तो कुरान हकीम ने वैसे ही वाज़ेह कर दिया है कि पढ़े लिखे और जाहिल में कभी भी जो है ना वो बराबरी नहीं हो सकती. So a reader is always better than the one who doesn't read. So it keeps your brain healthy, and it even when you're not very rich, if you have been a good reader, you can still be satisfying, you can still be contented. And there are people who have millions and millions of money, cars and bank balance and bungalows and everything, but they're not satisfied from inside just because they don't read. So this is the art that only I think reading gives. A reader has the benefit of being contented and satisfied because this is what he learns. And also that when you read a lot different stuff, it gives you critical thinking, which normal people, you start questioning the stuff. Okay, you have critical thinking, you don't accept the things just because your father accepted them or maybe your elders accepted them. You think about it, you think over it, and you ask yourself whether or not should I believe on it or not. Okay, so it makes you logical, it makes you rational, it makes you critical thinker. And this is, I think, the greatest benefit of literature. The other students, like the students of science, you won't believe that there are science students who have PhDs in a subject and they still don't believe the very basic truths of science just because they don't want to think over it. A religion just overcomes them and they don't want to think outside that boundary or premises. While a student of literature breaks all the premises and he thinks beyond all this, and whatever doesn't come to his rationality, he doesn't accept it. And I think, the literature frees you from the fears of theology, religion, and what we call it, superstitious stuff. Okay, and this is the greatest blessing literature can ever give you. When you are free from any kind of fears, this freedom is to be enjoyed. This is when I broke all the fears, and you have no idea how happy I was and how great a blessing this was. Being free from the different fears of religion and other superstitious things is really fantastic. So that's it. These were the things that came to my mind and I shared. And I made the video just because I had to explain to that person. And he said, sir, if you make a video, I will be thankful to you. So this is dedicated to Mr. Asad, my student studying at University of Okada. See you all.